For 5 straight years, the league told itself LaMelo Ball couldn't actually hurt anyone. Last season, he proved that story wrong, and the team that knew him better than anyone, the one that watched every injury, every headline, every wild possession up close, didn't just admit it. They took the exact version of him the league feared and shipped him straight to a Western Conference contender, right next to one of the best players alive. So here's the real question. If LaMelo Ball finally became the player everyone swore he'd never be, why did his own team let him go? Segment 1. The 3-part case against him for half a decade. The case against LaMelo Ball rested on 3 pillars, and all 3 held up long enough to become conventional wisdom. The first was his style of play. Highlight reel basketball, sure, but not the kind that translates into winning in May. Too loose, too improvised, more pickup run than playoff offense. The second, and the one that actually tanked his market value, was his body. Across a 3-year stretch, LaMelo played roughly 105 total games, barely 43% of the schedule. And every time he sat, Charlotte didn't just slip. They collapsed to dead last in the league. The third had nothing to do with basketball at all. Reckless driving incidents, walking away from a wrecked car to still make tip-off, a postseason leg swipe on Bam Adebayo that drew a fine. On national television, one prominent analyst hammered both the shot selection and the URSM, pointing out that LaMelo had never won a single full playoff game. That combination chaotic game, fragile body, unserious reputation let the entire league exhale. As long as all 3 stuck, nobody had to take him seriously as a real threat.
And Bam Adebayo will come right back. Be a huge hit for the Miami Heat. Gingerly back to the locker room. He went down hard from LaMelo Ball. So he was losing his balance, but then Ball, bottom of his leg, and he went crashing down to the hardwood.
Segment 2. The story cracks, but at least one leg of that case was never solid. People who covered the team closely had been saying for a while that the maturity narrative was overblown, that whatever off-court noise existed, it wasn't an actual locker room or character problem inside the organization. That left only the basketball argument standing, and last season, both of them collapsed at once. LaMelo played 72 games, his healthiest season since his rookie year, averaging roughly 20 points and 7 assists a night, while shooting close to 37% from 3. Charlotte jumped from 19 wins to 44, a 25-game improvement in a single season, made the play-in tournament, and came within 1 win of their first real playoff appearance since 2016. He personally won the play-in game himself, driving for the winning bucket in overtime against Miami. The "he doesn't win" argument didn't just weaken.
Put the ball in the basket in the second half, and then 2 in for Charlotte. On the big plays, just his basketball game.
Segment 3. The scariest part here is where it gets dangerous. The oldest criticism of LaMelo was that his numbers were empty good stats on a bad team, with no real connection between the two. Last season broke that theory publicly. With him on the floor, Charlotte's offense functioned like a legitimately good unit. The moment he sat, the entire operation fell apart. That's not a stat pattern. That's a guy the whole offense runs through. We've actually seen this exact pattern before. There was a stretch where people asked the same question about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, great numbers. Sure, but does it lead to winning? Then Oklahoma City upgraded the roster around him, and the question disappeared entirely, along with anyone willing to admit they'd ever doubted him. A ball-dominant guard is only as dangerous as what's around him. Put him alone on a bad roster, and he's a stat line people dismiss. Give him a real supporting cast, and he becomes a problem the whole league has to game plan for. That's the exact mechanism Charlotte just handed to somebody else. Segment 4. How the health actually got fixed. None of this happened by accident. Charlotte reportedly wrapped him in ankle braces every night, capped his minutes around 25 on the second night of back-to-backs, and at points brought their franchise guard off the bench just to steal fresh legs in the fourth quarter. It kept him upright, and the healthier he looked, the more his value quietly climbed back to life. 2 years earlier, a max contract attached to a guy who couldn't stay on the floor had almost no market at all, the same frozen market that made stars like Trae Young and John Wall nearly impossible to move. Then a healthy, 24-year-old LaMelo Ball walked into that dead market, and suddenly there was a bidding war. Minnesota, Toronto, and Portland were all reportedly driving the price up. Segment 5. The coldest sale of the summer. That's the setup for the actual trade. Charlotte didn't keep the newly dangerous version of LaMelo, they sold it at the exact peak. According to ESPN's reporting, the read around the league was that Charlotte deliberately let his value recover, then pounced the second a real first-round package was available. On July 6th, LaMelo became eligible for a 2-year, roughly $119 million extension. If Charlotte genuinely believed he was their long-term answer, that's the day they hand him the pen. They let that window sit open and never touched it. Instead, they traded him not to a lottery team to fade away, but directly to Anthony Edwards and a Western Conference contender. That's the part that should worry the rest of the West. For his entire career, LaMelo never had a real co-star in Charlotte. He was the offense, the release valve, and the pressure point all at once. Now he lands next to a top 5 talent who's publicly said he wanted exactly this, a genuine young point guard to share the load with. One respected NBA analyst put it plainly, Edwards had been asking for this exact skill set for years, and that's precisely what he just got. With a real initiator next to him, Edwards can slide back into pure scoring, the role he's already best at, instead of manufacturing every possession himself. A healthy LaMelo pulling up from near half-court drags defenders 25 feet from the rim and cracks the defense open behind him, then finds passes most guards never even see. Put Edwards on the other end of that chaos, attacking a defense that's already scrambling, and you're not looking at a highlight reel anymore, you're looking at a matchup problem. Segment 6. The other side of the argument. So if he's really this good, why let him go at all? Because Charlotte wasn't running from a problem, they were cashing in a recovery. Let the market run hot, sell at the top, and walk away with a stockpile of picks plus the largest trade exception in league history, while handing the keys to younger, cheaper players already on the roster. That's not a team saying he can't play. It's a team saying they'd rather have the assets, a very different statement. And there's a real counter-argument sitting right underneath the excitement. He still has to stay healthy. One good season isn't 5 years of proof. He was on a scripted minutes plan for all of it. Take away the bubble wrap. Hand him heavier playoff minutes next to a genuine superstar, and the same body that cost him over half a season across 3 years could resurface. But notice what that argument quietly concedes: the only thing standing between the league and its nightmare version of LaMelo Ball isn't talent or fit anymore. Those debates are over. It's purely a health question now, and that's a very different conversation than the one the league was having 2 years ago. Segment 7. Why Charlotte really pulled the trigger. Charlotte made the play-in, won a single game, then got blown out by 31 points to close the season. 44 wins and a play-in appearance is a good year, it's not a contender. That's the exact gap the front office was staring at when they decided a newly healthy LaMelo was a selling opportunity, not a foundation. Charlotte's president reportedly said his real goal was never one good year or a single play-in trip, it was sustained, long-term success, built honestly around where the franchise actually stood. Translated, the 44 wins never changed his mind. In return, Charlotte got a useful big man, a mountain of draft capital, and that record trade exception a real haul, but also basically a confession that their own front office decided the exciting version of LaMelo was too risky to build a decade around. They're betting instead on players already in the building, a 20-point-a-night wing. A rookie who led the league in threes and finished runner-up for Rookie of the Year, and a steady backcourt scorer, which made trading away their most electric player a much easier sell upstairs than it should have been. And there's one more thing Charlotte gave up that never shows up on a trade grade. He was the draw. He sold jerseys, filled seats, and pulled casual fans back into a franchise that hadn't sniffed the playoffs in a decade. Charlotte didn't just trade a good, healthy point guard, they cashed in the most magnetic player the building has had in years, betting that a pile of future picks is worth more than the show itself. For 5 years, the league insisted LaMelo Ball was fun, fragile, and ultimately harmless. His own team just became the first to publicly act like the opposite might be true. So tell me where you land. Is a healthy LaMelo Ball next to Anthony Edwards the scariest backcourt in basketball? Or is Charlotte about to look like the smartest front office in the league the moment his ankles give out again? Drop your take in the comments. I want to know which side you're on. If this changed how you see that trade, smash that like button, subscribe for more NBA breakdowns, and I'll see you in the next one.